Okay, so I didn't plan on making a follow-up video this early, but I got a lot of feedback on what's missing from the first guide and I wanted to complete it. So this is mainly expanding on a few things from the original guide and a few new topics that people asked for. Keep in mind that this guide is intended for KoF 15, so anything that I'm pretty sure won't make it into it, I usually avoid. But this is an exception because KoF 15 is not out yet, so it makes sense that people want the mechanics they can use now while waiting for KoF 15. If you haven't watched the first part, I do recommend watching that first because this is not a standalone guide and they work together, where this is a supplement to the previous guide. Alright, let's talk about rolls and what they can do in the game. First thing is, rolls are invincible from frame 1, means you can do them immediately and you will be invincible right away. Even on wake up, right through a meaty projectile, you can do them in all sorts of scenarios for a quick invincible escape. It is a very strong tool with lots of utility. Yes, they are punishable, but you're not there yet. So in the learning stages, you're gonna see as many rolls as a Dark Souls boss fight. And that's fine in the beginning because you need experience to realize when the opponent might be rolling and how you can punish them. For example, a very common spot for people to just roll is on wake up because they don't want to deal with the mix-up. You'll need to predict this to punish it properly, but you can run after it, you can just do another hop, or in some cases you can just run and then roll with them to follow them wherever they'll go. A very obvious spot to not roll is usually being full screen against a slow fireball. Rolling here is what the opponent wants you to do, because at this point they've fully recovered from the fireball and you essentially have to deal with it when they're right on top of you as well. So if you roll here, you're just rolling right into them for a free combo. Similarly, rolling out of the corner is very common with beginners, and against good players, they're just gonna wait for this and you're gonna eat a big combo. Okay, previously we talked about how on wake up you have a bit of throw invincibility, where if you're just getting up, you can't be thrown right away. This carries over if you wake up roll. And this doesn't mean that you can roll free on wake up without getting thrown. It just means it carries over, and it's a small window, around 8 frames maybe, which doesn't cover the whole roll duration. The first part of the roll will still be throw invincible, but you can still be thrown out of the rest of it. On the same note, when you do a recovery roll off a soft knockdown, what happens is you give away the throw invincibility you would have had. What this means is, if you do a recovery roll, you can be thrown right away or you can be hit, and this is one of the only scenarios where you can get a true 50-50 throw or hit mix-up. Take for example King. This is a very common setup with her. If she hits you with a tornado kick and starts running right away, the tornado kick is a soft knockdown. If you happen to recovery roll, you will be in a tight spot where you have to guess between the strike and her throw. Rolls have 2 different distances you can use. If you do a regular roll, forward or backwards, or if you do it off a run where it gets a bit more range. It's the same duration, it just goes a bit further, similar to hyper hops compared to regular hops. And the main purpose of this extended roll is usually on Oki. When the opponent is waking up, if you time the roll just right, you can make it ambiguous whether you're gonna land in front or in back. Adding the left-right mix-up on top of the already existing mix-up makes it really scary. Okay, guard cancels. While the obvious use for it is defensively to get the opponent off of you, they have a couple of other uses that are more offensive and can turn the match in your favor. For example, if you have the opponent cornered and they're trying to get out, you can do a guard cancel blowback to push them back into the corner and keep your positioning. And expanding on the guard cancel blowback specifically, while these are very fast, they can be baited if you do them late. Next is the guard cancel rolls. For the most part, these are used to just avoid things and just get better positioning. We already mentioned before that guard cancel rolls can punish long animation moves, but it can also punish people that are very predictable in their block strings. For example, if the opponent always does the same block string into the same special, you can use the guard cancel roll to cancel the move right before the special, and what happens here is you'll roll and they'll be fully open for that whole special's animation. Depending on how predictable your opponent is, this can be very deadly and can turn the match around so fast. Just keep in mind that this cancel needs to happen before the special comes out. If you do it as it comes out or after, the opponent would have recovered by then and you won't get a punish. Okay, so for the combo options, there are two options we didn't cover in the last video, and these are the anywhere juggle and the OTGs, and because these are very specific to a very few characters. If the opponent is in a juggle state and you do a normal, they will flip out. Normally this means that the combo is over and you can't do anything here. However, if your character has an anywhere juggle, you can do this move and it will connect even if the opponent is already flipped out. This is a move that will connect off a regular CD that's not a counter hit, off a sweep, and off normals like anti-airs or in juggle state. But they're mainly limited in their range or that you need meter to use them. A very infamous move that had this property is Vice EX Sleeve. In KoF XIII, this move made Vice a menace because it means any stray normal like an anti-air jab or a jump air-to-air can lead into a full combo. In KoF XV, we've seen Robert have this property on his EX... I don't know what the hell this is called. On his EX rapid kicks. In the video you can see that he does a close C, which would have reset the opponent and knocked them out of the combo, and then does the EX lightning kick to do an anywhere juggle. And now we'll go to OTGs, which stand for off the ground. Usually when you're on the ground, the opponent can combo you or hit you at all. However, if you have one of these moves that are OTG, you can pick up the opponent off the ground for more damage. And again, these are very rare, like it's only with a couple of characters that have the OTG option at all. And some of them are more usable than others because they have the knockdowns to utilize them properly. But if your character has them, it's good to know about because you're missing out on free damage if you don't use it. Off of sweeps, off of air CDs, sometimes off of specials or supers. They can be used in a bunch of different ways, and that damage can be the difference between winning and losing the round. This was the most requested topic when I asked people what they wanted to see. How to build your offense, how to open people up, etc. And there's no umbrella answer to all of this because it relies on you reading your opponent and conditioning them to do certain things. So we're gonna go over the options both sides have when you're up close, and hopefully that can help you build the image of what you can do and what you should be doing to get people opened up. And this is the range that happens once either side blocks 2 light attacks. Now if you notice in this range, even though one side has a bit of advantage, you're out of range. They can't do any more lights as they will whiff. However, they're close enough where they can still initiate their offense. So this is a range where both sides have a bunch of different options they can do, and how they interact and knowing what beats what is important. Both of them can do a run-in into more stuff, a hop, standing normal, or sweeps. Don't worry, we'll break these down, but I want to show you what can happen in this range from either side. Run-in means you can run back in again, where you can do another low or a throw. This is what you go for if you know the opponent will hesitate and won't press buttons. You re-establish your positioning, you're back at point blank, and you have the low and throw mix-up. Hops have a lot of layers too. You can do a regular hop attack, you can do a hop CD to get a lot of advantage, you can do an empty hop low, you can do an empty hop throw. This is especially scary with grapplers because they have 1-frame command grabs. You can also stand your ground. You don't want to move in, but you don't want to back away. You do some standing normals. This can be used to keep your positioning, to push them out of range, to stop their hop attacks. In some cases can even frame trap. You can also do something like a stand A, which will recover quick enough to be bait for them whiffing something big. And then the last layer can also do a sweep, which can frame trap or beat their standing normals if they were expecting a hop. Or you can even do a block string off of it into a special. There's also the outside options where they're very character specific, like doing a special or a CD. Just a reminder here, either side can do like a backdash or a back roll to avoid this whole thing. This is if both of you want to keep your ground or try to press in for offense. Alright, with these options, we'll go a bit by bit about how to stop each one. The main way to stop a run-in attempt is usually a crouch B, because the opponent cannot crouch or block immediately, so a low B is the best answer to stop it. However, the crouch B will lose to a hop and some standing normals and some sweeps. This depends on the spacing. Okay, if the opponent does a hop, what's the best option for it? Standing light button or standing normal depending on the character. And this will lose to the sweep. This is the basic cycle that we talked about in the previous video. Hops versus standing normals versus sweeps. Versus standing normals, what do you do here? If the standing normal is a long range move like KO's far D here, the best option is to just block it. However, if it's something that has less range, you can usually sweep against it. In some cases, you can do a hop too. Against the sweep, the main option is doing a hop. And with some character that has a standing normal that goes over lows, you can do those too. The TLDR of all of this, in this range, you are reading your opponent and trying to react to what they'll do, and you can condition them, notice some patterns, and then build up what you can do from there. You can add things like staggering. Oh, he mashes here, so I'm just gonna delay the next button. Oh, okay, he hesitates, I'm just gonna run in for more offense. Oh, okay, he doesn't like the confrontation and he just back rolls. I'm gonna run all the way. We're gonna try to go over how to build your block strings. This is an odd subject because this is usually not a game where you just want to do a super long block string. Mainly because, like we said earlier, if you just do this every time, a guard cancel roll can punish you hard. But having a full block string in your rotation is not a bad idea. Doing a full-on block string into a special that will push them out, it's good to have this knowing the risk of a guard cancel roll. However, you need to add layers to it to make it a threat. For example, cutting it short and then doing a frame trap. A very common frame trap is doing something like a crouch B into a close C. This is a very nasty frame trap because it looks like there's a gap, but there usually isn't. This is a very common frame trap with a lot of characters. Once you get it in your opponent's head, this will help you get staggering, where you will do something like a crouch B and then two crouch Bs and then run in crouch B again, run crouch B, frame trap, crouch B, run, throw. This is how you build the block string against your opponent, where you have to condition them on what they think you will do next. You can also do a hop, especially a hop CD, to reset the whole cycle, and now you're in frame advantage. You can also do a block string with far normals, where people think they are safe enough to throw out some normals or try to move around. This is another layer that adds into your offense. You can use it with all the other options we talked about earlier. This is how you open people up. You make them think you're gonna do a hop or a sweep or another normal or a full block string or a throw, etc, etc. There's a lot of options here, and you can be very creative in how you approach your opponent. So using what we covered here as well as the previous section, combining the aspects from both parts is how you form your offense. Alright, dealing with the big bad boys, the Grapplers. Grapplers in KoF are in theory the same as any other game, but because they have all the universal options like hops and rolls and running, they are more nimble than your average sluggish grappler. You can combo into grab specials in KoF just like any other special, and grapplers usually have a grab that leads into a safe jump or an easy mix-up opportunity that will loop you back into the same scenario. Add to that they are frame 1, so they are very versatile and can punish a lot of things that would usually be safe. Best advice I can give you here is be wary of empty hops, because doing an empty hop with other characters is a threat because they can do an empty hop low or a throw, but these options with other characters can be beat doing the back+C option select. This does not work against grapplers, as the one frame command grab is faster than your regular throw and is faster than your close C, so it's gonna win every time. One of the main things you do against grapplers is early air-to-air, and this means not letting them even try to hop in, because if a grappler does an empty hop in, it's probably too late and you would have been grabbed already. Similarly, if you try to jump in, make sure that you do them late against a grappler, because if they block your attack early, you'll be negative enough where you just get thrown as soon as you land. A common mechanic that you'll see with a lot of grapplers is AutoGuard. This is a property that some moves have where they will absorb your attacks and still come out instead of being interrupted. It's similar to armor in other fighting games, but in KoF, AutoGuard can absorb an infinite amount of hits and they don't take any damage from the absorbed hits. It does lose to throws and low attacks though. There are exceptions where they will lose to only one or the other, but these are very rare. If you are in the blender of a grappler mix-up, it might be worth it to try to backdash and take the hit airborne instead of trying to guess what is gonna come next. If you're lucky enough, you'll come out with minimal damage or get out for free if they did a grab. Last thing I will add here is an option that doesn't exist in 14 and probably won't be in 15, but if you're playing any of the older KoFs, it's good to know about, and that's alternate guard. An alternate guard is a technique where once you start blocking, you can start switching back and forth from standing to crouch blocking over and over, and what this does, it will extend the duration where you're in block stun, meaning you cannot be thrown in this duration. The main use for this is usually against grapplers. If you're in block stun, they cannot do their grabs. But this has a very obvious weakness, because you're switching between stand blocking and crouch blocking. This means that there are points where you're not blocking your shins. So if the grappler knows this, they can usually just do a low and it will most likely hit you. You can be lucky and happen to be crouching when they try to do their low. But in general, this is a technique that's good to know about, but use it sparingly. And I'm not sure what to add here. Grapplers are very powerful in KoF. Use your mobility. The grappler is usually trying to get in on you to throw you. Use your hop normals. They can be very good pokes against grapplers because you're airborne so they can't throw you. And good luck. Hopefully you got something here that will help you against grapplers. Okay, we talked about how to do the back+C option select, but we never talked about how to beat it. There's a couple different ways, but they're very specific. In order to beat this technique, like we said earlier, if you have a command grab, a one-frame command grab, this will beat all the options that the back+C option select does. The other option is having an invincible move, like a DP. Obviously, this is mad risky if they just block. And then option number 3 is spacing it, where you're far enough where the throw won't catch you and their close C won't happen and they will get a far C instead. This is very character specific, but if done correctly, this can lead to them whiffing a big far C and you can get a punish off of it. And last thing about this option select is it can't be used on wake up. If you're neutral against someone that does this and you try to do an empty hop, they will get the close C or throw every time. But if you apply the same mix-up while they're getting up, it doesn't work. Like I said, there are ways to beat it, but they're very specific, which is why it's a very strong option select. Max. Okay, this is a very important mechanic that's been in the last few KoF games, but it works differently in each one. Max mode is a temporary power-up that gives you a lot of different benefits, and you can enter it in 2 different ways: activating raw with B+C in neutral, or canceling into it off of normals. I'm gonna be real here, raw activation is very situational, you won't be using this much. Quick max is where it's at. You can cancel into max mode off your normals on hit or on block. This works a bit different between games, but the concept is still the same. We'll go through them in order. In O2 it costs 1 bar to enter raw, and it costs 2 bars to do a quick max off a normal. This works a lot like the old school roaming cancel in Guilty Gear, where you'll be instantly back to neutral. The quick max activation will cancel your animation and you can do whatever you want after. You can combo here, but it's a pretty strict window and you usually need to run in to connect a close heavy attack into a proper combo. One of the main features of O2's max mode, while it's active, you can cancel from specials into other specials. This obviously leads to all sorts of crazy combos and even some block strings, as it works on block as well. Doing a special to special cancel takes a chunk off the max mode timer. A weird feature here is that even though you already used the bar to enter max mode, you can still use it to do a super at the cost of the rest of the timer. This means that you don't spend a second bar to do the super, you use the same bar you entered max mode with. You can also use it to upgrade a regular super into a level 2. If you do a level 2 or an EX super outside of max mode, it costs you 3 bars. But in max mode, it only costs you 1 bar and the rest of the timer. Even if the timer is almost out, you can benefit from this after a full combo in max mode. Max mode also negates the extra bar needed to cancel from a special into a super, because in O2, doing a special into a super costs an extra bar aside from the cost of the super itself. Not in max mode though, you get that for free. Another odd benefit is that charge specials don't need the charge at all. You can just do the input without any charge and they will come out in max mode. Another thing that you can do in max mode is that every normal becomes cancelable, something like Kyo's FAR D. This is usually not cancelable into a special or a super or anything at all. While you're in max mode, you can cancel it into almost anything. And lastly, this is in O2 only as far as I know, you can activate max mode off of a guard cancel CD. This is obviously very situational, but now you know about it. Max mode is also in KoF XIII, but they changed the name into Hyperdrive. It's still the same thing as max mode, but it has its own separate meter now. Similar to 2K2, the main benefit of 13's max mode is the custom combos where you can go special into special. However, in 13, when you cancel into max mode or Hyperdrive, you get an auto dash, which obviously makes combos much easier than 2K2's max mode. In 13, you also get the benefit of the cheaper super, but this only works for the level 3 or the Neo Max. In 13, the Hyperdrive is a more valuable tool and a very important resource to keep track of. The combos are much more streamlined and a lot of characters can benefit greatly from getting their Hyperdrive combos down. 2K2's max mode ends immediately once you do a super, giving you the free upgrade. You don't get that upgrade in 13, but the benefit is you can add supers into your custom combo. It will end once you do a Neo Max though. 13 also has the same benefit as O2's max mode where every normal becomes cancelable while you're in max mode. You can also activate the Hyperdrive in the air in 13, which is not doable in the other games. And lastly, KoF 14. The biggest difference here is that in 14, it only costs 1 bar to go into Quick Max. This obviously changed the game quite a bit as it became more focused on fishing for pokes into max mode, because it's very strong and it became very cheap. But unlike 13's auto dash, which was a set distance and it helped you convert from much further away, 14's you get an auto run, which you can end early and it's different speeds per character. The auto run is still very useful and it helps you convert off of stray hits, it's just not as big of a distance as 13. 14's max mode doesn't let you do the specials into specials combos, but it gives you access to EX moves, which give you a lot of versatility in combos. These were in 13, but they cost 1 super meter for each EX move. In 14, you can keep doing EX moves as long as you're in max mode. Each EX move depletes it a bit, but you'll get a solid amount of EX moves. The big thing here in 14 is that different positions will give you different durations of max mode. And to add to that, Quick Max will make the bar start halfway depleted. This adds more emphasis on character positioning, and it means the later characters get to use max mode longer and get more EX moves. 14 also has the free super upgrade benefit, where if you do a level 1 super, it will become a level 2, ending max mode. Now we've talked about how they work in each game, but we'll need to expand on what you can do with them. Aside from the obvious application of combos, you can use max mode in all sorts of ways. You can use them to stay safe off of unsafe normals. You can use them to close in off of a far poke, especially in 13 or 14, where you get an auto dash or run. Doing something like a very far D and canceling into it means you get free pressure off of it. This is obviously a big game changer, especially that most far normals are not cancelable at all. So the fact that you can do them and combo off of them or B+ for pressure is a very big deal. They can also be used in mix-ups, especially in O2 and 14, where the activation is really fast and there's no obvious cue aside from a small sound. Doing something like an activation into an immediate overhead or a nasty cross-up if you can do one, it gives you all sorts of new ways to open people up. I will have a couple of examples on screen because this is a very versatile mechanic and showing you every single scenario and what you can do with it is not really possible. We'll end this with a technique that works across all the games that have max mode and can help you out depending on your character. And this is called the max mode bypass, or HD bypass in 13. And what this does is it lets you activate max mode while immediately going into a special. Instead of getting the auto run or just going back to neutral, you will immediately go into the special as if you canceled into it. But with the added benefit of activating max mode as well, so you can go into more stuff. And this is done by combining the max mode activation, which is B+C, with the specials input. So for example, if you're trying to do KO Fireball Forward C, with the bypass, you will do it as Fireball Forward with B and C together. And what happens here is as soon as you input this, KO will immediately cancel into his Fireball Forward C, while entering max mode at the same time. The uses of the bypass differ greatly between the characters as well as the game you're doing them in. So experiment and see what works best for you. You want to let the auto run rock. You want to do a bypass. You want to activate into a mix-up. You want to cancel for safety, although that's a pretty hefty cost just to be safe. This is a mechanic where you can get creative and do your own thing. So experiment and see what uses and combos you can find with max mode. And with that, I think we got everything. To be honest, this was going to be a video that will come much later with info about 15's max mode and other new mechanics, but with the delay to 2022, I doubt we'll be seeing that kind of info anytime soon. I will eventually make a third part for this guide, but it will be closer to the game's release, and it will cover the new mechanics and changes in 15, like the armored CD, and how they keep showing us cancels that make no sense because they seem like they should take 6 bars, but that's obviously not the case, and things like that. The next couple of videos are gonna cover the revealed characters and go over their tools, how they play, and what changed in 15. So look forward to those, and like before, if there is anything you want to see, do let me know, and if there's enough topics, I will make a follow-up covering them. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.